قولی وصلی اللہ علی سیدنا محمد وعلی اہل بیتہ الطیبین الطاہرین المعصومین بآواز بلند صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی محمد وعجل فرجہم۔ باہر اگر برادران کچھ موجود ہیں ان سے گزارش کروں گا کہ انشاءاللہ ہال کے اندر تشریف لے آئیں بلا تاخیر۔ آغا صاحب یہاں پہ موجود ہیں اور ہم دل کی اتھا گہرائیوں کے ساتھ تمام مسجد لوٹن کی طرف سے ان کو ایک مرتبہ پھر ایک تھوڑے سے عرصے کے بعد ہمارے یہاں تشریف لائے ہیں۔ آغا سید حسن مجتبا رضوی صاحب کافی پہلے بھی ہمارے یہاں تشریف لاتے رہے ہیں، تو انشاءاللہ یہ پروگرام بھی لائیو جا رہا ہے، تو آپ تمام مومنین مومنات سے گزارش ہے کہ ان کی صحت و سلامتی کے لیے اور تمام دنیا بھر میں جہاں جہاں مومنین بیمار ہیں یا مشکلات کا شکار ہیں، خصوصاً غزہ کے ہمارے مسلمان بہن بھائیوں کے لیے ان کی مشکلات کی آسانی کے لیے اور ظالموں کی نابودی کے لیے ایک مرتبہ بآواز بلند صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی محمد وعجل فرجہم۔ کیونکہ دامن وقت پہ اتنی گنجائش نہیں ہے تو بلا تاخیر گو کہ آغا صاحب اتنے سفر کر کے آئے ہیں تو انشاءاللہ کوشش کریں گے کہ زیادہ سے زیادہ ان سے مستفید ہو سکیں، تو میں آپ گزارش کروں گا جناب قبلہ سید حسن مجتبا رضوی صاحب سے کہ وہ تشریف لائیں اور ہمارے سامنے آپ کے سامنے انشاءاللہ خطاب فرمون۔ قیامت کے لیے نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ حیدری، نعرہ حیدری، بر محمد وآل محمد بلند تر صلوات۔
اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم، بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، الحمد للہ رب العالمین وبہ نستعین، والصلاة والسلام علی اشرف الانبیاء والمرسلین، حبیب قلوبنا و طبیب نفوسنا رحمۃ للعالمین ابی القاسم محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise and glory belongs to Allah, the one who created on the most dominant of his qualities, which is love. All of the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the projection of his quality of wadud or of love. The month that we are in is also one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ramadan, which means that someone who deeply loves. Therefore, when we say we are not supposed to just say Ramadan, we're supposed to say the month of Ramadan. So when you say the month of Ramadan means that this is the month in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows a very special and deep love for the individuals who enter into this month. For Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, these days were very precious, these nights were very precious, the moments of my Ramadan they were very precious. And as it would go towards its end, and they would start feeling this feeling of sorrow, and that as if you have a friend who is with you, and as the time goes by and it gets closer to the time when you're going to be away from your friend, so they would start having those feelings. And now we are almost to the point where this friend, if my Ramadan was a friend for us, is going to be leaving us soon. In the end of the month, there is a particular dua as well, where 20 different ways Imam Sajjad ﷺ has said Khudafiz to no, 20 different ways he has said Khudafiz to this month. So the night that we are in, we translated on the flyer as the Night of Power, I believe. Qadr is a word in Arabic. It comes in the meaning of specifying. It comes in the meaning of shape or form. It comes in the meaning of, you can say, sort of, to differentiate. Right? The word Qadr has been used in the Holy Quran quite a few times. One particular verse is 43, I believe. Or you can go through the Holy Quran, you'll find this word. Nowadays it's very easy. You just put the Arabic word in any of the softwares you have, and it'll give you all of the verses where the word has come. And then we also have the ability to look at the translation and the tafsir as well. So it has become very easy now. Before it was a bit difficult. Anyways, you'll see that this word has been utilized before. Specifically for tonight, we have Laylatul Qadr, which is the surah that we recite, Surah Qadr, and the translation of it, I'm sure you all know. You recite it in morning prayers as well, and otherwise too. So tonight, the amount of time that we have, and I haven't spoken to you for such a long time, so I know anything that I'm going to say is going to be new. Even the things that I might have told you before, and it's been like maybe 7, 8 years or more or less. So it might not be in your minds, some of them might be. It's better than a whole lifetime. So this is also a concept that we all understand, that it is 1,000 months, and if you calculate it's 80 years, more or less, and the night is better than a whole lifetime if a person was to live to be 80 years old. So the significance of it, there's a lot of traditions, and in this night we're supposed to perform different a'mal, and while we were driving over here, the brother Abid also reminded me of, and I know of this statement from Ayatollah Jawadi, Hafazullah, that he said that the best amal or amal of Shab-e Qadr is to seek knowledge. So as soon as Maghrib happened, we entered into that night. So it's not when the amal start, is when Shab-e Qadr starts, right? So as soon as Maghrib happened and we went into Isha, Shab-e Qadr is already there. So inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept this as a part of the amal that you are going to do. So the emphasis or the importance of the night is also not going to be our topic, because you already know that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَادِرِ, that what do you know, what is Laylatul Qadr? So when he says this statement like that, that means that it doesn't tell us not to ponder over it, not to look into it, not to do our due diligence and effort to understand the concept of Laylatul Qadr, but it tells you that regardless of how much you're going to try, you will not be able to comprehend it in its entirety. Right? So Imam Baqir ﷺ has said that Bibi Fatima Zahra Salaam alayha, she is Laylatul Qadr. And then Imam Baqir says, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَادِرِ. He says that I do not know what Bibi Fatima is. Right? Baqirul Ulum, the one who is the initiator of all of the knowledge, who has this title of Baqirul Ulum, who is the son of the one who kept on saying, Saluni, Saluni, Qabla an tafkiduni. So the knowledge in that household of Ahlul Bayt is of the highest. No one can reach any higher than that. So when that organization or that maktab or that institution is saying to you that we don't know what Fatima is. We can try, we can go and try to understand Bibi Fatima Zahra Salaam Alaiha, but we have to go and enter with humility, that there is no way that we will be able to comprehend it. It's an entirely, right? So it's the same thing for Laylatul Qadr. So whatever effort we're going to put in right now is not to say that this is what it is. This is just an effort. Okay? Because once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet Muhammad Laylatul Qadr, and to every human being, we can't understand it in its entirety. In that surah also is one of the proofs that Laylatul Qadr continues, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, I bring down the angels and the ruh with all of the affairs, and they come down to a particular person, and then from that person all of the affairs are distributed. So one of the proofs that we, as our mazhab, as the Maktab of Ahlul Bayt al-Islam, says that there has to be the hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala present on the earth, because when Laylatul Qadr comes and all these affairs are brought down by the angels and the ruh, it is going to be brought down on someone. At the time of the Holy Prophet, it was the Holy Prophet. At the time of Imam Ali, it was Imam Ali. At the time of Imam Hassan, were Imam Hassan and Hussein, Imam Sajjad, Imam Bakr, Imam Jafar Sadiq, Imam Kazim, Imam Raza, Imam Taqi, Imam Naqi, Imam Hassan Askari. And then today, right now, if it was to be Laylatul Qadr, the angels and the ruh are going to bring down the affairs of all of creations to Imam Zaman alayhi salatu wasalam. So Qadr, the word, I'll go into it and then see if we can kind of, as you probably know, I always try with examples and then try to get to the concept. So your face is very familiar, and been such a long time. Some faces have gray hair now, and some have lost hair, and the difference has come into our physical entity. But I'm sure what I cannot see, which is the inside of yours, I'm sure it has gotten better and at a different level of understanding and a lot closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that time that we've been apart. But I will still start with examples so that maybe perhaps we can follow and get to the point. Everything that you see with your eyes that we call or we perceive in 3 dimensions, science says that it is made out of matter. And matter is made out of, if it's carbon-based or non-carbon-based, there are molecules and there's atoms. And then if you keep on going further down from atoms, you'll get, within the atom, you'll get the neutron, proton, and electron. And then if you keep on going down, you're going to get to the level of quark, which is just a photon, one particle, or quark means just singular. And after quark or after photon, we don't have anything that we will classify as a unit, and we'll just call it as dark matter. Okay. These are not new things. Anyone who has grade 10 science or grade 11 science, you understand that matter is composed of molecules, atoms. Atom has the interesting part about an atom is that Bohr came up with the model at the time when nobody had seen an atom. And atom became the founding or in the model of understanding of matter, 3 dimensions, it became the building block. And the whole of the science was based on it. Until today we are taught about atom and nucleus and protons and neutrons and electrons. Isn't it interesting? And in the late 1800s he just came up with a model and everybody just accepted it without seeing it. And nobody has ever challenged and proved to me that there is an atom. No? It's not interesting to you? I mean, the atheists, they always come up and they say to you, they prove to me if there's a God through science. Well, okay, all of your science is based that matter is made out of atom. Nobody actually saw the atom. Prove to me that there is an atom. I don't have proof. Now that they've come up with an electronic microscope, they're able to see the atom, and what they have seen now is just clusters of energy that are in the kind of like tornadoes together moving really, really fast. And actually what is solid is nothing solid. So this is just a perception of solid. It's not really solid. Waniwa? Yes, no? If you're making, this table is made up of atoms, and if atoms have nothing solid and it's just clusters of energy, then how is anything solid? This is not really, this is not very difficult. It's just 2 + 2 is 4. Right? Yes or no? I mean, if atom, there's nothing solid in it, the neutrons and protons and the electrons, this is just the model that Bohr came up with, but when you look into the electron microscope, you're not going to see anything solid as we know as solid. You just see energy. So that means whatever perception you have of solid is just a perception. It's not that it actually exists as solid. With me? Okay, if you're with me, then I'll go a little bit further. When you take a look at the nucleus, or the atom, you have the nucleus, neutron, proton, and then you have an electron. So if you were to put it in today's scale right now, the scale, that if this is a nucleus of the atom, the electron would be 20 miles away. Okay? So can you think of something that's 20 miles away from this center? Not the table, but this center. Watford, okay. I've been there, that's easy. So just think about Watford as the electron and Masjid-e-Ali as the nucleus. Okay? So that's, Watford is 20 miles away. Now between Masjid-e-Ali and Watford, take anything that is there and remove it. All the houses, all the streets, all the shopping malls, all the hospitals, everything, just remove it and just empty space. So the known science says that between a nucleus and an electron, there's just empty space. There's nothing there. The only thing that is solid is the neutron, proton, and the electron. The rest is empty space. They also call it as the quantum vacuum. There's nothing there. Right? Now, if you take out the empty space from atoms, the whole of the known universe, which we have taken a picture of, you know what it will amount to as solid, which includes only the neutrons, protons, and electrons? 25 grams. That doesn't do anything to you. Right? And that 25 grams is of what we know as to be solid, when in reality there is nothing solid. So if you take that away, then there's no weight. If this didn't make sense, and the previous example didn't make sense, if one of you is 250 pounds, and we were to take this empty space out, your actual volume, that would be 3-dimensional, as solid, you will fit on the tip of a needle. The reason why I'm telling you this is that all what you see is based on a model of understanding. And when you take this model of understanding and try to see the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will be just that limited of your model of understanding. And the known science has models of understandings, but they are so narrow that when it comes to, when you start looking at the universe with that narrow model of understanding, of seeing, even then you see the complexities and the intricacies and the synchronicity in the system that makes the mind go, that boggles the mind. Imagine if you could see it with a different model of understanding. Right? So this thing that is something which is solid and it's not solid is just a perception of solid. Why did I bring that up? Because it's not about being solid, it's about shape and form. The shape and form is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the shape and form which is perceived, which is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the whole year, till next Laylatul Qadr, it is good, that knowledge is going to be revealed to the Imam of the time. And then through that, the rest of the shapes and forms that connect with each other throughout that whole year of whatever is going to happen, that connection till the next Laylatul Qadr. Huwa Abiniwa. So then, if you can recite another salawat. And we can. Okay, so the three-dimensional sort of physical creation, there is the model of understanding of Darwin. You know that one? It's actually a religion, but it's not a science, but it's now a religion. You're Darwinian, so you have this model of understanding of Darwin, and Darwin's model of creation is a upward creation. You start off with an amoeba. Remember what Ayatollah Jawadi said, that learning in this night is one of the best amal, right? So if you learn something out of that, is part of the amal of Shab-e Qadr. And I understand we have had aftari, and all of us probably had a good aftari like I did. And it's difficult, but if you just follow with me a little bit, inshallah we'll get to a conclusion. So they say that a few things came together and then created a protein or amoeba or unicellular organism, and then that went through a process of evolution, and then you have everything, and then you have human being, and then you have consciousness. And we get you consciousness, you try to ask them, can you define it? And they say, we don't know what consciousness is. If you ask them the question, how come only human beings were able to get conscious? How come the animals are not conscious? Because they're part of the same evolutionary process. They say, we don't know. Why is it that human being is asking the question, to be or not to be? Why is it the human being so interested in traveling to Mars and to Jupiter and going to the moon? Why is it a human being so interested in finding out what is inside of the oceans? Why is a human being bent and adamant to go through knowledge so that they can get to the point where they can elevate themselves, at least in technology? Nanotechnology, quantum computing, all of that. How come the rest of the things that were part of the evolutionary process, how come they don't have it? The answer is they don't know. Right? So this is the one model of understanding of creation. There's another which is actually all false. Even 100 years back, it was classified as false. Darwin himself was just an elite. It wasn't even his theory about evolution. It was a farmer who had sent him the documents of his idea, and he published it himself. In the beginning, he had the name of the farmer, and then later on, he even removed that, and now it's known by the Darwinian theory. Right? It was plagiarized. So most of the stuff is based on that. Now, the other model of understanding, which is the opposite to that, is a downward creation. So if I've lost you, we're trying to explain what Qadr means. Layl, we understand, is the night, and Qadr, what Qadr means, is what we are trying to explain. Okay? It's okay? I mean, Darwinian theory you already know, atoms you already know. Haven't given you any new knowledge. Yes or no? I've only taken the same knowledge you already know, put it together, and then you might be asking the question, what's the point of a religious person or man of God talking about science? And one place I went and there was a neurosurgeon. I come off the mimbar and he says, he goes, I'm a neurosurgeon, and somebody comes up and asks me the question about, something about the brain. I'll answer. I say, you're a man of cloth, how come you know that there are 5 hearts in a worm? This is the secular way of us thinking about sciences. Imam Jafar Sadiq ﷺ and Imam Bakr ﷺ and the rest of the Aimma. They taught their students all of these sciences. Where do you think the root of it is? It's from a man of cloth. It's from a muttaqi, parehezgar, individual, the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's our secular minds that have separated chemistry, physics, biology from ilm hadith and ilm kalam and so forth. If these are the knowledge of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator, then knowing about His creation is religious knowledge. With me? So the opposite to that model is the model that quantum physics gives, which is a downward causation. So Darwinian says that it is a upward causation, and quantum physics says it's a downward causation. This downward causation is more in line with the concepts that we have in the Holy Quran and also in the traditions. Now, whether quantum physics is the right model of understanding or not, this is debatable. But their model is that there is a zero-point field that has everything in potentiality. See? From that zero-point field, there is an observer that observes from that zero-point field, and things start taking shape and form. And they will only remain in that shape and form until the observer is observing. As soon as the observer stops observing, the things go back into potentiality. So the shape and form of things is based by the attention and the focus of the observer that gives the shape and form or qadr of things. Hua nahi hua? Nahi hua. Okay. I'll give you another example. I don't know if you remember or not. I want you to create something, okay? I want you to create something. In your mind, I want you to create an apple tree. Remember this example? No. No, okay, so it's new. Okay, alhamdulillah. For a moment, I'm going to become quiet and I'm going to ask you to create an apple tree. I know your attention span is about 12 to 18 seconds, so as soon as I interrupted you, what happened to your apple tree? It's gone, right? Or it's still there? If you could hold it for more than 3 seconds, I would give you something. Because our attention span is like 10, 12, 18 seconds. But you see, as long as you were attentive, how many people's apple tree had red apples? I guess in England you don't eat red apples. How many had yellow or green? Oh, so majority had yellow. So maybe in England most of the varieties are yellow or green and not red. In America or in Canada, it's red delicious. Apple is red. So now, as soon as I told you to create this apple tree, it appeared. Did you need to sow a seed, water it, give it sunlight, nutrients, fertilizer, have it grow as a sapling, take 10 years? Huh? Did you have to? It took shape. All you needed to do was observe. All you needed was that attention. As soon as you were attentive, the apple tree appeared in a shape and form. And when your attention was gone, the apple tree was gone. The shape and form of the apple tree was Qadr. Your attention was the shape and form. And you were the observer, and the attention produced the apple tree for as long as you were attentive of. As soon as your attention went away, the apple tree went away. If this is the model of understanding of creation, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates, you existing right now means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is attentive to you. That if He takes His attention away from you for a nanosecond, you will no longer exist. And when He says to you that I am closer to your jugular vein, means that every single moment of your existence is connected to my attention to that degree that even for a nanosecond, and I'm saying nanosecond just because this is the smallest that we can think, if I was to take my attention away, you no longer would exist. We think that we're going to get the attention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to do. No, He is always attentive to you. The problem is you're not attentive to Him. He's always attentive to you. You being in existence is a proof. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala की तवज्जो आप पर हर लम्हे, ये जो आप हैं ना इस वक्त, आप अपने आप को महसूस करें, आपको आगाह है कि आप हो, ये इस बात की दलील है कि खुदा की तवज्जो आप पे है. अगर आप पे ना होती, आप भी ना होते. अब ये हैफ है, ये अफसोस की बात है कि इंसान की कभी कभी तवज्जो खुदा की तरफ जाती है. कि खुदा को हमें शौक दिलाना पड़ता है, शौक उर्दू वाला, मोटिवेट करना पड़ता है, सवाब का, अजर का वादा देना पड़ता है कि मेरी तरफ तवज्जो कर लो. जिसकी तवज्जो दायमन आपके पास है, आपको या तो कोई मुसीबत आएगी, हमें कोई मुसीबत आएगी, या कोई हमें चीज़ चाहिए होगी, तब हम उसकी तरफ तवज्जो करेंगे. जो हर वक्त आपकी तरफ तवज्जो रखे हुए है, उसका हक क्या है तवज्जो का? सलावत पढ़े मोहम्मद. So this model of understanding that I gave you of the quantum physics of the downward causation is probably closer to the way it is. And everything that exists right now is in shape and form. And the shape and form exists because of the shape and form given to them by the observer, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attention. And the attention is there, therefore everything exists. One you are. So this kind of destroys all of the evolutionary sort of Darwinian theory, which creates, this sort of secular environment, materialistic, reductionist, idea about the creation, and that if you cannot see it, it doesn't exist, or whatever your five senses cannot sense, it isn't there. It just completely destroys it all. But for a very long time, you're still going to be taught the same sciences because there's a tyranny, and it's more in favor to talk to people or to tell people about the materialistic point of view of the world rather than other than that. Right? Because you can take God out of the picture. Right. So far okay? Yes? Qadr means shape or form, or specifying, or restricting, or giving it something to separate from others. So all of the affairs, now imagine the greatness, then this is just, because I've already told you, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ, we're not going to be able to. But everything that is going to take shape or form which is connected to everything of today, of yesterday and tomorrow. And everything has to be in its right place for the universe to exist till next year of Laylatul Qadr. All of that knowledge is delivered by the angels and the route to the Imam of the time. The amount, the mind is like, how does that happen, right? Teek? Did you see the statements? It's not about just the shape and form. More examples? This bottle of water, which I'm going to probably end up drinking, but using this as an example. Okay? You see the bottle of water, you see the water, you see the plastic bottle, you see the green cap, right? Is it connected to the universe? It is, right? Does this bottle of water have an effect in the universe? Yeah, it is. Yeah, kind of, yeah. Because it's connected. If I do this, there's a ripple effect of action, reaction, and this wave goes through the whole of the universe. And where this wave is going to go and which other wave is it going to hit, and it continues in the entire 240 or 250 billion, galaxies with trillions of planets and stars. You get the complexity? All of that knowledge for one whole year is going to be delivered in this night to the Imam of the time. Right? Every word that I've uttered so far, before I uttered it, till I uttered it, then you heard it, and then you processed it, then you understood a meaning. That meaning in your life, how it's going to transpire and connect till next year, that knowledge is going to be delivered tonight to Imam Maulana. And everything has to be in its place, because if you take the place of something which is supposed to be there, you take it away, the whole system collapses. Just to give you a physical example of Jenga, what is that? That game? That you take, it's like all wood, you pile it up, and the point is you take out a piece of wood and not let that tower fall. And the kids play, right? And whoever takes the wrong one and it falls, the person loses. With me? So just imagine that game with trillions and trillions and trillions, right? Trillions and trillions of sticks piled up in a tower. And these sticks are going to be removed as time continues. Things are generated, degenerated. Generated, right? Things come in, people live, people come, people die. Apple is there, no longer there. Degeneration, regeneration, degeneration, regeneration. These sticks keep on coming in and out. But the whole tower doesn't collapse. They're all connected, but it doesn't collapse. One you all of that knowledge is going to be delivered to the Imam. Now, in the last part, I think so much is okay, but when you start thinking, you appreciate the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how this greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His mercy and love becomes the means for us, the Imam of the time, and then everything in our life is sort of connected. What are we supposed to do, right? Like, so for part of the amal is going to be that you're going to go through a certain azkar, a certain dua, ziyarat, and so forth, right? Now, if this becomes your, if this becomes your, I want to use a lighter word, habit, let's say. If this becomes your habit, anything that becomes habit and you don't do it consciously takes the soul out. Okay? When things become habit, that means you're not conscious about it anymore. Like even like when we do tasbih, if you didn't know, I was saying Allahu Akbar. This was Alhamdulillah. Right? A person said Allahu Akbar. Imam Ali was crying when he heard the word Allahu Akbar. And he said to the person, do you know what you have just said? He said, do you know the gravity of saying this one word, Allahu Akbar? So have you thought about that? And he was actually, Imam showed being upset because the person was just saying it, like we do. So do you know the gravity of saying Allahu Akbar? That if in your life anything that becomes greater than God, you have lied in saying Allahu Akbar. That you would have to live a life in which nothing is great other than Allah. Nor your wife, nor your children, nor your life, nor your wealth. Nothing would be great other than Allah. Right? So in the amal, be conscious. Don't just, you know what I'm trying to say? Be conscious of what you're doing. If you have the Holy Quran on top of your head, understand that you are now being sheltered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Holy Quran is alive. It's not just words and paper. It's something alive. On the Day of Judgment, you will see it. And when it walks on the Day of Judgment, the row of the prophets will think, this is a prophet going. तो अंबिया की सफ़ होगी ना, वो समझेंगे कुरान जा रहे होंगे तो वो समझेंगे कि ये कोई नबी है. वो कहेंगे आ जाओ, ये तुम्हारी सफ़ ये है. शोहदा की सफ़ से गुजरेंगे, वो समझेंगे कोई शहीद है. वो कहेंगे कि इधर आ जाओ, यहाँ पे खड़े हो, ये तुम्हारी सफ़ है. सिद्दीकीन की सफ़ से गुजरेंगे सेम. तो the Holy Quran is an existence, is alive. It gives you life. Something that is dead cannot bring you to life. Something has to be alive to bring you to life. Right? If you become conscious that you're being sheltered, now you're being protected of what you have on top of your head. And the last thing I'll talk about is what you're going to want. Right? Like you will do du'as. आप दुआ करेंगे ना ऐसे ना, लेकिन दुआ करेंगे, पैसे मांगेंगे अल्लाह से, है ना? पैसे तो मांगने नहीं होंगे तो घर कैसे चलेगा? पैसे मांगेंगे, जो जिनकी शादी नहीं हुई वो कहेगा अगले साल तक मुझे बीवी मिल जाए. जिसकी शादी हुई है वो कुछ और दुआ मांग रहा होगा. जो भी, ठीक है. अब अगर किसी का जॉब नहीं है तो जॉब मांगेंगे. कोई चीज़ घर बेचना नहीं बिक रहा, घर बिक जाए. कोई बीमार है, कैंसर किसी को कुछ भी, तो उसके लिए शिफा मांगेंगे. ऐसे ही ना, ये सब मांगेंगे ना. ये So you'll be asking a lot of things for yourself. I'll tell you perhaps another way of getting things that you want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever that you want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give it to someone else. Because you giving it to someone else means you had it first and then you gave it away. You didn't get it, you know? Niwa? Masan, you want your sins to be forgiven tonight, then forgive someone else. If you want your sins to be forgiven, forgive someone else. When you will give out forgiveness, that means you have forgiveness to give out. You see? If you say, Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh, and somebody comes and says, can you forgive me, and you cannot forgive, that means you never had it. If you actually had it, then you would have given it. So if you can give forgiveness to someone else, that means you already have it. When you do dua, it's very difficult for you to know whether it has been accepted or whether you have it. But if someone comes and asks you for forgiveness and you forgive, that means you have forgiveness. If you didn't have forgiveness, how to give? But if you want in money, you have money, somebody comes and asks you, give me money. If you didn't have money, how are you going to give? If you can give money, that means you have money. If somebody needs mercy, give them mercy. That means you have mercy. जो भी आपको आज की रात खुदा से चाहिए वो किसी दूसरे को दें, अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला आपको दे देगा और आपको पता होगा कि उसने दिया है. बहुत सारी दुआएं हमें पता ही नहीं होती कि उसने कबूल की या नहीं की. अगर आपने किसी को आज की रात माफ कर दिया, इसका मतलब है खुदा आपके गुनाहों को माफ कर देगा. क्योंकि अगर आपके पास माफी की तौफीक ना होती, इसका मतलब है कि आपके भी गुनाह माफ. पैसे की एग्जांपल से समझे जी? Yes, no? So whatever you want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tonight, give it to someone else and you will have it. If I was to tell you one dua that is going to fulfill all of your duas, would you be interested? So if I was to tell you one dua that all the rest of your duas are going to be taken care of, that would be a good, because we are always looking for a shorter way. If you were to pray only for the Imam tonight, if you were not going to ask about your health, about your wealth, about anything else that you want to need, if you were to just pray for the Imam, you will get everything that you did not say. And that one thing, if it's given, it is the answer to all the prayers of every creation. It is the answer to the prayers of all that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, that one being which is the Imam of the time. And if you were to just pray for him, you're also letting go of everything that you're attached to. If you were attached to your job or your wealth or your health or wife or children, you'll be detached and you'll be attached to the Imam. The love that you found for all of those other things, this love will transfer to the Imam. And everything else will be given to you. Why? Because if you were to pray for the Imam, Imam is already or will pray for you. When he prays for you, which of the prayer that he will pray for you is not going to be accepted? See? अगर इमाम आपके लिए दुआ करते हैं तो उनकी कोई दुआ होगी कि जो खुदा ना कबूल करे. In the month of my Ramadan, after Maghrib, you recite Imam's dua, that Allahumma adkhil Allah al-Qabur sururi is the dua of Imam Zaman. Look how concerned he is of us. He's asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring peace and security in the graves. Right? The people who are in the grave, the ones who are in debt, have their debt paid, the ones who are sick, for their sickness to go away, the ones who are asir, or the ones who are in prison, for them to be free. The ones who are out of their watan, they are strangers in a strange land, for them to go back home. You look at that dua, it's all about us. And this one night that we have the opportunity, if you were to only pray for the Imam, and say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Imam, say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, I could ask you for wealth, health, all of these things. But instead, I'm only asking for one thing. And that is the Imam of the time. Just one. I don't need anything else. I don't need health, I don't need wealth, I don't need children, I don't need anything. I just need this one. The reason why Imam is not here is because we don't need him. We say we do, we don't need him. We haven't needed him, that's why 1190 years have passed. हमें इमाम की ज़रूरत नहीं है. हमें अपनी ख्वाहिशात और अपनी एहतियात, ये सिर्फ हमें वो पूरी हो जाए, हमारे लिए ठीक है. वरना कैसे हो सकता है कि इंसान एक लम्हा इमाम को ग़ैबत कुबरा में छोड़ दे और अपनी ज़िंदगी को करता रहे, और एक लम्हा गुजर जाए और उसको कोई महसूस ही ना हो कि कुछ हुआ है. शब जुमा थी, जुमा था, रोज़े आशुर, क्या होता है हमें? अभी अगर आपको कोई कह दे कि भाई आपके पास 2 महीने कैंसर है और 2 महीने के बाद चले जाएं, किस तरह से आप चाहोगे कि अपनी ज़िंदगी को एक्सटेंड कर लो? कितनी तगदो करोगे? हर वक्त आपके ज़हन पे सवाल है. हुज्जत खुदा आपकी आंखों के सामने नहीं है, वो इस्तराब में है. जब आप अम्मा युजीब का विर्द करते हैं, छठे इमाम कहते हैं कि सबसे ज़्यादा मुस्तरिब इमाम वक्त है. When we say Amma Yujib, this verse, Imam Jafar Sadiq says that Imam Zaman is the one who's the most mustarib, the one who's most in pain. If you cannot see the pictures that are coming out of Gaza, imagine the heart of the Imam of the time. If you cannot bear to see the few months children's body blown up, buried in the rubble, imagine what would happen to the heart of the Imam. If even reading the news headlines makes you go, your mind just, imagine the Imam of the time. We don't share his suffering. We need to share his suffering. He's suffering. This idea, it's been made for us as if this is a foreign idea. That when the 6th Imam says that when you say Amma Yujib, the most mustarib is the Imam of the time. Then in front of his istirab, what is our istirab? मेरे और आपका इसतराब उनके इसतराब के सामने क्या है? हमें छोटी सी बात होती है, हम फौरन सबके लिए पढ़ें, अम्मा युजीब का विर्द करें. कभी इमाम के लिए सोचा कि वो मुस्तरिब है, उनके लिए अम्मा युजीब पढ़ा जाए, जो सबसे ज्यादा इस वक्त इस्तराब में है, जिसके सामने इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम का कुर्ता है छलनी हुआ, वो देख रहा है उस कुर्ते को 1190 years. Imagine living where you are constantly looking at that cloth of Imam Hussain that he wore. They were taken off from his body, that has the holes of the arrows that were stuck, the swords that were stuck, the blood that's there of Hazrat Ali Asghar, and when he was there to pick up Hazrat Ali Akbar. Imagine the dirt of Karbala. They said that Imam Hussain did not have a place in his body that didn't have a wound. Imagine what would happen to that cloth that Imam Hussain was wearing. And to look at that all the time and cry and wait when the time will come when I can take the revenge of my grandfathers. When he sees us divided, when he sees us not following the religion or the tenets for which Imam Hussain gave his life, when on Friday our actions are produced in front of him, when he sees us, what is it that we are doing to calm his heart? We're all just worried about our own needs and wants, which we will ask, but we'll forget the Imam. Once this need develops in humanity for the Imam, Imam will appear. And what Gaza has done is at least made human beings aware and become sensitive about oppression. And the oppressors are very clear. This is a very important and big step that needed to be done before the advent of the Imam. One thing is oppression is there, oppression has always been there, but we lost our sensitivity that it is oppression. And today all of billions of human beings are realizing this is oppression. It needs to stop. And they know the faces of the oppressors. They know that the UN and WHO and UNICEF and all this, they are just jokes. These organizations are jokes. They can't do nothing. There's no such thing as international law. They realize this now. So we, as individuals who have entered into this night, just one thing, just think about the Imam, right? The difficulty that he's going through, and try to maybe perhaps make a promise, Ya Allah, I'll live a life in which when on Friday my amal are shown to the Imam of the time, that perhaps his heart calms down a bit. That he looks at me as a twinkle of hope. That I have this, I have him, I have her. Perhaps he looks at me as that something I do in my life becomes a little bandage on the wounds that he has. Some sort of peace he finds. I don't want to emphasize this point any further, but when you do think about the things you want, try to have only one thing. Say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't want nothing else. He will still give you. Just say, I don't want nothing else. Just want the Imam. In my own lifetime, I want to have him come out of this restriction of occultation so he can come and introduce himself and start that revolution, which is the responsibility on his shoulders to bring about the potentiality of human beings into action where nothing else remains but the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May we see that day in our own life, and may we be among the friends and the companions of the Imam of the time. In this night, wherever Imam happens to be, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the bottom of our hearts with the sincerity, as much as that we can be sincere, that if there is something that you are going to give us on this night, let it be a bit of calmness to the heart of our Imam. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wal-Asr. إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.